On June 1st, 2000, beloved actor Patrick Swayze faced a dire emergency at 13,000 feet. His tranquil flight suddenly took a dramatic turn when his twin-engine plane experienced a critical malfunction. The once calm journey from Van Nuys to Las Vegas, New Mexico, quickly spiraled into a desperate attempt to avoid disaster. Would he be able to land safely against all odds? This is the horrifying story of Patrick Swayze's emergency landing. On that fateful day, Swayze piloted his 1978 Cessna 414A, a light twin-engine plane, from Van Nuys, California to Las Vegas, New Mexico. It was a routine flight with clear weather, allowing Swayze to enjoy the peaceful solitude of the skies. On board with him were his two dogs, enjoying what was meant to be a leisurely journey. The weather conditions were perfect for flying, with clear skies and minimal turbulence. Yet, fate intervened, and what started as a casual flight quickly turned into a race against time. The Cessna 414A was known for its reliability and versatility. It featured a pressurized cabin, allowing the aircraft to fly at higher altitudes comfortably. Swayze was confident in the aircraft's capabilities, having flown it numerous times without incident. The journey initially seemed uneventful, and Swayze looked forward to reaching Las Vegas, New Mexico for a personal visit. However, the situation took a drastic and unexpected turn as he approached cruising altitude. Patrick Swayze, famous for his roles in Dirty Dancing and Ghost, was also an experienced pilot. He had a passion for flying, often taking his plane for personal travel. Swayze had obtained his pilot's license several years prior and had logged many hours of flight experience. He was well versed in the operation of the Cessna 414A and had undergone rigorous training to ensure his proficiency in handling emergencies. On this particular day, he was alone with his dogs, putting his piloting experience to the ultimate test when things went wrong. Swayze's love for flying was well known among his friends and family. He often spoke about the freedom he felt in the skies, away from the pressures of Hollywood. Flying was his way of unwinding, a chance to connect with the world in a different way. His experience as a pilot was not just a hobby, it was a skill he took seriously. He was meticulous about pre-flight checks, ensuring that everything was in perfect condition before taking off. However, no amount of preparation could have foreseen the unexpected mechanical failure that occurred on this flight. The flight departed Van Nuys, California, with Las Vegas, New Mexico as the destination. Everything seemed routine during the initial takeoff and climb as Swayze settled the plane at cruising altitude. The weather was clear with visibility stretching for miles, and there were no signs of trouble as the aircraft smoothly ascended. The takeoff was executed flawlessly, and Swayze quickly settled into the rhythm of the flight, adjusting the aircraft's systems for optimal performance. Swayze's route took him over the rugged terrain of Arizona, a familiar path that he had flown many times before. He enjoyed the breathtaking views of the desert landscape below, with its vast stretches of sand and rocky outcrops. The flight was supposed to be a straightforward journey, with no significant obstacles or deviations expected. However, as the aircraft reached cruising altitude, the tranquility of the flight was shattered by an unexpected mechanical issue. At around 13,000 feet, Swayze suddenly heard a loud popping noise, followed by his ears popping and his dogs barking in distress. The pressurization system had failed, which was a critical issue at such altitude. Recognizing the immediate danger, Swayze knew he had to act fast. The sudden depressurization caused a rapid drop in cabin pressure, which could lead to hypoxia if not addressed quickly. Hypoxia, or oxygen deprivation, can impair a pilot's ability to think clearly, making it essential to descend to a lower altitude as soon as possible. Swayze's training kicked in immediately. He quickly assessed the situation, realizing that the pressurization system was no longer functioning. The loud noise and the barking of his dogs were clear indicators that something had gone terribly wrong. He took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, and began the emergency descent procedure. His priority was to get the aircraft to a safe altitude where the cabin pressure would no longer be an issue. The next few minutes would be crucial in determining the outcome of the flight. The pressurization system's failure, caused by a loose clamp, led to a rapid loss of cabin pressure. In such situations, oxygen deprivation or hypoxia is a significant risk. Symptoms include confusion, impaired judgment, and even unconsciousness. Swayze's quick recognition of the danger and his decision to descend saved precious time and avoided these potentially fatal consequences. The failure of the pressurization system could have had disastrous effects if not addressed immediately, as the lack of oxygen at high altitudes can lead to incapacitation within minutes. In addition to hypoxia, the failure of the pressurization system also posed a risk to the structural integrity of the aircraft. The sudden change in pressure can place stress on the aircraft's frame, potentially leading to further mechanical failures. Swayze was aware of these risks and knew that a controlled descent was the best course of action. He adjusted the throttle and began a steep descent, carefully monitoring the aircraft's instruments to ensure that everything remained within safe limits. The descent was fraught with difficulty. Swayze had to find a suitable place to land quickly. The aircraft began losing altitude, and identifying a landing site in the rugged Arizona terrain was no easy task. As he searched, the severity of the emergency grew more apparent. This was not going to be a smooth landing. The Arizona landscape below was unforgiving, with rocky hills, sparse vegetation, and very few flat areas suitable for an emergency landing. Swayze scanned the horizon, looking for any sign of an airfield or a flat stretch of land where he could safely bring the plane down. Time was running out, and the aircraft continued to descend. The pressure in the cabin had stabilized somewhat as the plane reached a lower altitude, but the situation was still critical. Swayze's dogs, sensing the tension, continued to bark, adding to the stress of the situation. He had to stay focused, blocking out the noise and concentrating on finding a safe place to land. Swayze spotted what appeared to be an airfield and decided to make his approach. However, the location was actually a dirt road in a construction zone. The complications only increased as the aircraft descended, navigating obstacles like streetlights and road signs in a desperate attempt to avoid disaster. The dirt road was narrow, with construction equipment and partially built structures lining the sides. It was far from an ideal landing site, but it was the only option available. As Swayze approached the dirt road, he knew that this landing would be one of the most challenging maneuvers he had ever attempted. He lowered the landing gear and reduced the throttle, trying to line up the aircraft with the narrow stretch of road. The plane was coming in fast, and there was little room for error. The streetlights and construction materials posed a significant hazard, and Swayze had to make split-second decisions to avoid them. The tension in the cockpit was palpable as the plane descended, inching closer to the ground. The two dogs on board sensed the chaos and barked throughout the descent, adding to the tense atmosphere in the cockpit. Swayze's focus, however, remained unwavering, a testament to his resilience and experience. The dogs, normally calm during flights, were clearly distressed by the sudden changes in altitude and the noise of the emergency descent. Their barking was a constant reminder of the gravity of the situation. But Swayze remained focused on the task at hand. Swayze's primary concern was the safety of his passengers, his loyal canine companions. He had always been protective of his dogs, and in this moment, their well-being was at the forefront of his mind. He spoke to them in a calm voice, trying to reassure them as he prepared for the landing. The aircraft was rapidly approaching the dirt road, and Swayze knew that the next few moments would be critical. Swayze committed to landing on the dirt road despite the visible hazards. It was a risky but necessary decision that ultimately determined the fate of the flight. The road was narrow, and the obstacles were numerous, but there was no other option. Swayze's training and experience guided him as he made the final approach, adjusting the aircraft's trajectory to avoid the streetlights and construction equipment. The decision to land on the dirt road was not made lightly. Swayze knew that there was a high risk of damaging the aircraft, but his priority was to bring the plane down safely. He kept his hands steady on the controls, making small adjustments to keep the plane aligned with the road. The tension in the cockpit was almost unbearable as the plane descended, the ground rushing up to meet them. The plane touched down on the dirt road, clipping a streetlight, which tore off part of the right wing. It then struck a stop sign before coming to a halt. Miraculously, both Swayze and his dogs emerged unharmed from the severely damaged plane. The landing was rough, with the plane bouncing on the uneven surface of the dirt road. The impact of the streetlight shearing off part of the wing caused the aircraft to veer slightly, but Swayze managed to keep it under control until it finally came to a stop. The moments after the landing were surreal. The dust from the dirt road hung in the air, and the smell of fuel and oil filled the cockpit. Swayze took a deep breath, grateful to be alive. He quickly checked on his dogs, who, though shaken, were unharmed. The aircraft was heavily damaged, with the right wing partially torn off, and several other components damaged from the impact with the streetlight and stop sign. Despite the significant damage, the fact that Swayze and his dogs had emerged unscathed was nothing short of a miracle. Swayze and his dogs were shaken but uninjured. The aircraft, however, was heavily damaged, with the right wing torn off. Local authorities quickly arrived, and Swayze was taken to a nearby hotel to recover. The emergency services that responded to the scene were impressed by Swayze's ability to bring the plane down in such difficult conditions. They noted that his quick thinking and piloting skills had likely prevented a far worse outcome. In the aftermath of the incident, Swayze was praised for his handling of the emergency. Friends and colleagues expressed their relief that he was unharmed, and many in the aviation community recognized the difficulty of what he had accomplished. Swayze himself was humble about the incident, stating that he had simply done what needed to be done to ensure the safety of himself and his dogs. He spent the next few days recovering from the ordeal, grateful for the outcome and reflecting on the narrow escape. The NTSB investigation concluded that a loose clamp caused the pressurization failure, leading to the emergency. Witnesses initially provided conflicting accounts, including allegations of alcohol on board. However, the NTSB found no evidence supporting these claims, and the investigation focused solely on the technical failure. The pressurization system's malfunction was traced back to a clamp that had come loose, allowing cabin pressure to escape. This seemingly minor issue had led to a major emergency, highlighting the importance of regular maintenance and inspection of critical aircraft systems. The investigation also looked into the actions taken by Swayze during the emergency. The NTSB noted that his response was consistent with standard emergency procedures and that his decision to descend and find a landing site had likely prevented a more serious outcome. The allegations of alcohol on board were found to be unfounded, and the NTSB emphasized that there was no evidence to suggest that Swayze had been impaired in any way during the flight. The investigation concluded with a reminder to all private pilots about the importance of regular maintenance and the need to be prepared for unexpected emergencies. The incident underscored the importance of regular maintenance checks for private aircraft, especially concerning critical systems like pressurization. No significant changes to aviation regulations were enacted as a result of this incident. However, the story served as a cautionary tale for private pilots, emphasizing the need for vigilance and preparedness. The failure of a small component like a clamp had nearly led to disaster, and the incident was a reminder of the importance of thorough pre-flight checks and regular inspections. Swayze's quick thinking and skill saved his life and that of his dogs, reminding us all of the unpredictability of flight. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.